Hello class. Today we're going to be talking about system of equations, and with system of equations there's two main methods on how to solve them, and so we're just going to split this piece of paper in half here. And the first method is called substitution. The second one, elimination. So when I'm talking about system of equations, what I really mean is there's two equations that are equal to each other. So for example, we got y equals 6x minus 11 and negative 2x minus 3y is equal to negative 7. Now, system of equations, we have two equations that are equal to each other, therefore the variables associated with them, x and y, are both equal to each other in both equations. So, when we're talking about substitution, as you can see, this first equation is in the format of y equals 6x minus 11. So we're going to substitute that into this equation. So what does that look like? So we're going to have negative 2x minus 3, and then y equals 6x minus 11. So we have 6x minus 11, and that's still equal to negative 7. Right? So what we did was we substituted this equation into this variable because we had y equals something, right? From there, we're going to go through our steps on how to solve for a single variable, right? So we have just a single variable x. So we're going to copy this down again. So from here, we're just going to distribute the negative 3x. So, or the negative 3 to the 6x and negative 11. So we have negative 18x plus 33 is equal to negative 7 still. And then from there, we can combine like terms. So we have a negative 2x and a negative 18x. So we're left with 20x plus 33 is equal to negative 7. And then from there, we're gonna subtract 33 for both sides to get negative 40. We're gonna bring this down so that cancels out, and I got negative 20x. And then we're gonna divide by negative 20 on both sides. And we're left with x equaling 2. So from there, to solve for y, all we have to do is plug in what we got for x into this first equation. So we're going to, again, y equals 6, and then we're going to substitute in this x, which is equal to 2, minus 11. And from there, we can just simply multiply the 6 times 2, which is 12, and then just left with 11, and then from there just 12 minus 11, which is equal to 1. So now we've found now we've solved for both the x and y variable, and in a system of equations, the way we write this answer is 2 comma 1, because the x is for the x place and the y is for the y place. Now, so that's the first method, substitution. You're substituting in for y into this equation. The second method is called elimination. You'll see really quick why it's called elimination. So the first equation is going to be 2x minus y is equal to negative 9. And then we got 5x minus 2y is equal to 18. So again, we have two equations, two variables, but they're both equal to each other. And in this case, with elimination, you're going to want to basically eliminate a variable. And what does that mean? That means taking either the x or the y and turning it into a 0 by adding the two equations together. But as you can see, you can't simply add this top equation to this bottom equation and get a 0. So what we have to do first is we have to multiply this top equation by -2. And the reason why I chose -2 is once I multiply this whole thing by -2, we're going to see that this y here is going to turn to a +2. And when we add the two equations, this y is going to be canceled out, hence the elimination aspect. So let's multiply this out. So we got +4x, like I said, plus 2y is equal to 18. And now we're going to add these two equations, right? Just straight down. We're basically adding like terms. So we're adding the x's, adding the y's, and adding the solution, the 18s. So we're left with 9x. And then, like I said, these two are going to cancel out, is equal to 36. And then we're simply going to solve for x. So we're going to divide by 9, divide by 9. We're left with x equaling 4. And then similar to over here, once we found one of the variables, all we have to do is take this variable and plug it back into one of the equations. I'm going to choose to plug it into this equation just because, but you can choose either equation. You'll get the same answer either way. So I'm left with -2 times 4 minus y is equal to -9. And now all we're going to do is solve for y. So simplifying this a little more, we got -8 minus y is equal to -9. We're going to add 8 to both sides to leave us with -y is equal to -1. And then we want to make sure it's positive y is equal to something, so we need to divide by -1, divide by -1, and we're left with y equaling 1. So we have our two variables that we solve for, and like we did in the last problem, we're going to write this answer in the form of pairs. So the x comes first, and then y second. And so that basically gives you an example of how to solve a system of equations, both using substitution and elimination. And from here on out, we're going to work on figuring out why we would use substitution in a situation, why we would use elimination in another situation, and deciding what's the best way to solve these problems.